Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I am your host, Meffistoe. With me, always my hetero life mate, Oh My Feelings. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, buddy.
What is the Real McCoy? The Real McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we send you off to watch a movie and you watch it. Come back to us and we geek out, talk about it, discuss it, break it down, and along the way try to entertain you just a little bit on a Saturday evening or afternoon, if depending on if you're on the U.S. side. Well, before we get into everything, please go if you have any suggestions, if you want to see anything, if you want to suggest any movie things that you want us to cover on Twitter at Meffistoe. If you want to contact me, DM me, of course, DM me on Instagram at Meffistoe79, and of course, like we said last week, if you want to email us, the Real McCoy podcast at gmail.com is where you send your new emails if you have any. Of course, I have access to it this time. And of course, Oh My Feelings now have access to it as well. You can bother him
Yep.
during the week, even though he's a working class man. Okay, so if you are watching this on YouTube, if you're watching the VOD on YouTube, and you are a Twitch user and you don't want to use Twitch streaming, YouTube streaming, we are on Twitch as well. Twitch.com, twitch.tv/ the Real McCoy podcast, always on the podcast section. Let's say good evening to chat, good evening Beta Fett, and good evening Saf. Thank you guys.
Yes, Beta. Yes, rest in peace,
Yes.
both.
Oh,
Sidney
Nookies.
Poitier.
I didn't know Peter Bogdanovich died.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Peter Bogdanovich, and rest in peace, Mr. Tibbs. Also, by the way, the first the first movie I've ever seen with Sidney Poitier in it was actually Sneakers, a literally a
Wow, that's a
very
late one.
underrated movie with Robert Redford, Sidney Poitier, Dan Aykroyd, Andy McDowell is the woman,
Yes.
and Ben Kingsley. Pretty fucking great movie, and it was basically dissecting the NSA before the NSA became the NSA. And looking back to it, it's awesome. I don't know if we're gonna cover it, but it may be on the short list of movies that I will do as like kind of a reaction video, same as I did for Hudson Hawk. Kind of a sleeper. All right.
Yep.
What are we talking about today? We are talking, and we're starting off with the Tarantino month with Reservoir Dogs. Take it away. Before we get into the behind the scenes, just give us a little tip. Give us a little tip.
This is, oddly enough, number 12 on my movies of all time.
Have you done a list? Because
Yes.
I'm actually compiling a list.
Most recently, you would ask me, he's like, well, can you try to compile at least a top 20? I said, well, I'll try to, and I'm debating on whether it's number 12 or number 13 right now, but I think it's still at number 12, which is really high because I have a lot of the old classes that you don't like that I actually do enjoy.
Hey, dude, every list it's very tailor-made to the guy who makes the list.
Yes.
That's why I'm actually
It's almost as though art is subjective. Yeah. Wow. Who knew?
Who knew art was subjective? Who knew art was subjective along with being offended?
Yes.
Anyway,
that's true.
Yeah. It's been that week. I'm sorry, it's been that week. All right. So let's go dive into the thing because we have a lot to talk about today.
Yes.
Production take 2.
Behind the screens, where we go to All My Feelings and get the lowdown on behind the scenes of Reservoir Dogs. Take it away, dude.
So, originally, Tarantino was working at oddly enough, a video store for the longest time. His original concept of naming the film was named after a customer mispronouncing Au revoir, les enfants.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how they got butchered the name of it so bad. He heard Reservoir and like, oh, Reservoir Dog. Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay.
And while he was also working at that same video store, he was in contact with a small-time producer who offered him like about $30,000 as a budget for a script to make it. And originally, it was going to be shot in black and white on 8mm.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only going to star Tarantino's friends. The thing was, his producer at the time brought the script to his acting coach, who gave it to Harvey Keitel.
Oh, how the
Harvey
world
Keitel
turns. The world turns in LA, dude.
Yeah, then Harvey Keitel went and he was, well, if you make me a co-producer of the movie, I'll help raise funds. That's how they got up to from $30,000 to $1.5 million.
Which is still an indie level budget.
Which, even in the early 90s, was a very, very low budget film.
Yeah.
Now, also, one of the major things that Harvey Keitel did coming in as a co-producer is he decided to set up all of a lot of screen testing and auditions on different coasts because they were all based in California at the time. Yep. He did several auditions and casting calls in New York. That's where they got Steve Buscemi, Michael Madsen, Tim Roth, basically half of the cast.
Yeah.
And speaking of, Buscemi originally was not supposed to be Mr. Pink.
Who was it? Was he supposed to be Mr. Blue?
No, originally they weren't even going to actually bring Buscemi on. They were going to bring on John Cryer to play Mr. Pink.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Oh, my camera just went numb.
It died on you.
Oh no, not again. I would just listen to the sound of my voice.
Yes.
Oh no! Oh my god.
No, but
Stay
John
with me.
Cryer thankfully backed out of the role.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going. Don't worry. Don't look at it. Don't look
And then
at it.
from there, Tim Roth actually, when he was initially cast, he was either going to play, well, he was actually cast originally to play Mr. Pink, but he actually wanted to play Mr. Orange, for the fact that he could be an Englishman pretending to be an American, pretending to be a cop.
That's a bit convoluted.
So a confluence of things, because he thought the role was going to be really challenging to play Mr. Orange, which it was.
It was. It's there's so much I forgot, and when again rewatching these and doing a critical work on them,
I know
in the real good stuff, you appreciate so much that people put into it. And there's like how did Chris Penn like Beta Fett
Beta
said,
Fett, yes.
How did he get involved?
Chris Penn was actually recommended by his family member to Harvey Keitel.
His
Sean.
His brother? Sean?
Yeah.
Wow. Why didn't Sean do it then? That's a weird part. Like, it's right up Sean's alley.
I believe he was working on something else at the time. That
this
also
is 92, so 91 basically.
Because I think this was after he and Madonna had their big split, correct?
I think they already split at like a late 80s, so
late 80s,
89,
okay. Something like that.
So maybe he was still doing. Ridgemont High was when 90.
Ridgemont High was.
I'll check when
that was in the 80s. That was in the 80s.
High Times.
Ridgemont High. That was in the 80s. But anyway, the
82.
other.
Oh, okay. That's
the other major thing about the movie is there are so many different homages that are in this film, like how everyone has a color coordinated name instead of their actual name, which is from like directly almost borrowed. I wouldn't say ripped off because it's used in a different way somewhat, that like taking a Pelham 1-2-3, if you've ever seen that movie. Like, then
I have not. I've heard about the movie, but I haven't seen it.
That, and a lot of the later scenes are really an homage to City on Fire, which is a fantastic film. We'll have to cover sometime, because even Tarantino wrote later on, he's like, well, City on Fire is one of the films that I loved the most, and we watched it on repeat at the video store that he worked at.
Yeah, so a lot of inspiration comes from well, to be fair, when you say ripped off, everything is ripped off from something.
Yes, I know. There's no actual original thoughts anymore. Let's be fair. It's all just an adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation. So
yeah, everything at the end of the day is what Greek tragedy.
Yes,
Greek tragedy. And all that.
These are epic poems, which are all like, even those are derivative of Babylonian texts.
Yeah,
and Gilgamesh. Well, I mean,
yeah. And there's no, but how you take something and you say, okay, I'll give it this little twist, this little tweak, and suddenly, we've got a brand new product.
Story. Yes.
And slap in a bit of like fake blood on it, and a lot of fucks and a lot of fuck yous. And a lot of N-words.
Which, well, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but
a lot of N-words for a movie with no N-words in him.
That's which I was going to say the last thing is, the budget was a very, very easy thing to figure out, because overall domestically it was not really a bomb, because it did make double its gross, actually its actual budget is at 1.5, and it made 2.9 million domestically. Internationally, the box office was never really actually released, but apparently it made at least 5.8 million in the UK. Apparently it was huge in the UK.
I think it was very huge outside of the United States. I
Yeah.
think it was big in France, and when they took Pulp Fiction to the Cannes Film Festival,
Cans, yeah.
it was even before it was shown, it was received so
Received.
well because people was like, "Oh, the guy who did Reservoir Dogs,"
Yeah.
right? So in Europe, I think it was pretty big, at least
Yeah.
to my mind. Because when Pulp Fiction came out, even when like I was a teenager, I knew that Tarantino, it's the guy who did Reservoir Dogs, and I haven't even seen Reservoir
Seen it.
Dogs at
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it did a lot better. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's
I say that's all I got.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
also the one last thing, the warehouse was actually a mortuary.
The warehouse was actually a mortuary. Like, if you say small budget, if you think about it, there's not a lot of locations in this movie. Like, you don't see the actual robbery. You don't see the heist. You see the
Yes.
jewelry store from the outside, not from the
Which
inside.
the heist was actually they had to cut the heist scene due to budgetary constraints because they couldn't
Yeah.
with that budget. There's
Yeah.
absolutely no way they could have shot it to do any kind of justice. I mean, I was surprised they even did a scene where the scene where Mr. Pink is running down the street away from the cops,
Yeah.
having to shoot up down the entire street length. I'm
Yeah.
really surprised they were even able to pull that off with that budget.
Question. I am not so familiar with LA. Was that a like Mulholland Drive or Melrose, or is it somewhere like Ventura Boulevard?
No,
You don't think so, right? It's like it's too
no,
major for that budget.
no.
You would
I
think.
would have to think like this would have to be obviously a lot of extras. Duh, clearly.
Oh, yeah,
But
for sure.
I'm thinking that like this has to be. I don't actually know where it was shot.
You'll check it out. I'm gonna talk about the basically the first scene, because this is a very Tarantino thing where he shoots things and puts them out of order to tell a story, and
Yes,
it unfolds in like layers, right?
but okay, but this while we're just to make a point on that though, the opening dialogue sets up not only the entire tone of the film about how these guys are not exactly what they call good people.
Oh,
Because Tarantino's first line is, like a virgin. It's a song about her getting fucked by a guy with a big dick.
yeah.
It's like, okay, let's move on from there.
It's on, but
also, if you look at it though, if you take that into consideration, it sets up the pacing for how many Tarantino films moving forward. It sets up his unique style of directing and storytelling.
Yeah.
Because Pulp Fiction, the cafe scene, which we're going to talk about next week at length.
exactly.
Beta, I know how much you love the Hateful Eight. Hateful Eight, the carriage ride.
Exactly. Now, I had it set up, and now there we go. Got it. First, I know it's very stupid.
Play the world's tiniest violin.
The meme of this, it literally ties together the entire talk, because all they do is bullshit, right?
Yeah.
The Madonna song is bullshit. It's just guys chit-chatting away, right? It's basically Tarantino himself driving that conversation and everybody else reacting to it. And when it comes down
we have
Bill,
Joe Cabot's character on the other side, who is he's talking about he's just naming names off this ledger.
Yeah.
And Mr. White takes it from him. It's like, give me back my ledger. Like, listen, I've had to listen to you on my right side talk about was it Takanawa, Takaguchi, And I had to listen on my left side talking about Big Dick McDonough over here.
Yeah. So the whole conversation was like, this is so interesting because you would do this conversation with your friends at like a gathering of some sort, right?
Yeah.
And at the end, you pay up, you leave the tip, and there's always that guy. And Steve Buscemi is that guy who never leaves a tip. And there's
I don't believe in tipping.
Good excuse of why he's not leaving a tip. Now, does it say anything else about Steve Buscemi throughout the movie? By the way, let's stop here. Steve Buscemi was the most professional bandit from all of them.
Yep.
And I have a question for you. I know it's a bit premature. Was he caught or not caught at the end of the movie?
He was not caught.
Because at the end of the movie, at the back, if you hear the sound, I've turned it up way louder the second time I watched it. It seems to me that the cops arrest somebody on the outside. You don't hear them say, I arrest you or anything, but they have a stop and there's a shootout and that's it. You don't know. You basically don't know if he got caught or not, but he was the most professional of them all, including Joe. Joe.
Well, because if you think about it too, remember every single line that he says, whenever they have an argument, and he goes, "Stop it. We're supposed to be professionals here."
Yeah. And that's, and I was thinking it throughout the thing. It's like, if I was really thinking about it, he was the most professional, bandit there. And it drove me crazy, like for at least a half an hour.
Well, because no matter how professional, Mr. White comes off, he is still absolutely naive, and he believes in the people that he's working with. When Mr. Pink, Steve Buscemi, is questioning every single person, like, yeah, this is obviously a fucking setup. Who set us up? Did you set us up? Did he set us up?
Yeah, and he caught it like right away. Mr. White didn't even think they got set up.
Yeah.
Mr. Orange, again, he's the cop, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Mr. Blonde, Michael Madsen, he came in.
He was a fucking
he knew they got set up, but he didn't really care. He was like,
no. Well, then also he was pretty much a fucking psychopath too.
Yeah.
From the way it was set up, had they not had shot up the place with Mr. Blonde losing his fucking cool when the alarms went off, this would have gone off almost without a hitch. Like, they would have gotten back to the place and gotten back to the storehouse. Then the cops would have came in. One Joe Cabot came in,
of course,
arrested them all. Nobody would have died. A lot of people would have went to jail, but also these were a lot of bad people. So
these are not all
good people.
All of them except for Mr. Orange are bad people. And even Mr. Orange is...
Also, if you think about it too, we never hear anything about Mr. Blue. We never hear any backstory about Mr. Blue, so we don't know. From all we know, he was supposed to be the getaway driver. That's it.
I think Mr. Brown was the getaway driver. That's why he was driving everybody else, and he got killed or shot in the face, or... He did get a hit here, but we don't know if it's because of a shot. Because if he had a shot in his head, he wouldn't have
been able to talk
them away.
Yeah,
and we don't really know what's up with Mr. Blue, because we get references of, we don't know if he died or not. Then they do say yes, he's dead. Yeah, but we don't get a backstory. We get a backstory for everybody else. We don't get a backstory on Mr. Pink.
For Mr. Brown or Mr. Blue or Mr. Pink, we don't get a backstory for Mr. Pink. But Mr. Pink isn't really part of the entire.
Yeah, and
they would call it really the third act, but it's really the first act, second act, third act altogether.
Yeah, he is. About him through the story, but again, because he's a professional, all you know about him is what you see during the heist or during the start of the plans, and then after the heist.
Yeah.
That's about it. You don't know about anything about him, but you do know about Mr. Blonde because you need to figure out what's going on with
Vic
the
Vega.
psycho. He's Vic Vega. Is it Vincent Vega? We can look.
Okay.
Okay.
Real quick.
We said before, this podcast is not going to be linear.
No, it's going to meander
now
like
on.
a Tarantino
We're
film.
jumping from like here to there, and
no,
I
but
like
if you want to know,
please
Vic
tell
Vega,
me.
Vic Vega was Vincent Vega, John Travolta's character in Pulp Fiction's brother. They were brothers. They were originally Tarantino wanted to make a Vega brothers film that was going to take place before the events of Reservoir Dogs, about how Vic ended up in jail.
Yeah, but Vincent and Vic is so close, and it was like I actually said it in my my now defunct reaction video that got destroyed.
Corrupted,
Thank you, by the way, Restream. But yeah, I thought, and I didn't put together the N after the I. I was like, Vic Vega and Vincent Vega are two different things.
Yeah.
So for a second there, I was like, oh, it's Vincenze. Oh, I forgot the N. So it's Vic.
Yep.
So it's Victor
they were brothers. It's Victor.
They were brothers.
Victor and Vincent Vega.
It's weird, but it's not weird. Because
if you look at how many families have multiple kids that are boys, then they name them literally.
Yeah, so Ron,
like Albert,
Ronald,
and Adam. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, but so there is similarities because you do have the crooks or the I'm gonna call them the bandits because I don't want to say the criminals because they're all criminals. The bandits themselves always have the Tarantino look for a criminal or a bandit, which is the black suit, the white shirt, and the black tie. And
the skinny, it has to be the skinny black tie.
The skinny black tie, and all of them
to be
with
fair,
the Ray-Bans.
Which this is the film that made that look a trope in itself.
Yeah. But it didn't. Was it anywhere else in Tarantino movies? I don't remember. Was it in? It was
Pulp Fiction. Yes.
Pulp Fiction. Yes, but no. I mean, after Pulp Fiction, I don't think he ever did it again.
No, because in Jackie Brown was a different story.
Jackie Brown was a different story, and Hateful Eight. Please, no.
Then every other story had a different timeline. Then from then on.
Yeah. So he did, but the two movies that. Yeah, they are closer together, so maybe it's a little bit of influence. But the two stories that are very much LA based, very much bandits / criminals, is that very unique look, and you don't really see it going forward. And you didn't see it, of course, back. But yeah, it's a very distinctive look.
But speaking of moving back, cut to what you had
popped up backwards,
before, which is the scene of them walking out to Little Green Bag, which is, I think, one of the most quintessential and iconic scenes of all time in modern film.
Wait. Which one?
The one that you had before, with all of the gangsters.
Oh, the
nice guy Eddie. When they're walking out there. Yeah, the song is playing is called Little Green Bag.
Okay. This song and this image, by the way, is one of it's film history moment.
Yeah.
For me, it's so iconic. Mm-hmm. Do you remember they did this actual kind of scene in a very not known Stephen Moffat comedy, which is called Couplings?
Yes, I know that. You know why? Because I've told you how many times I love Coupling. It was a very it's Stephen Moffat's most underrated TV series of all time. Coupling.
I love it so much, and they had it, and they were going to a funeral. So they had the black suit, the white shirt, the skinny tie, and the Ray-Bans as well. And they played the songs, and they did it. pretended to go slow motion because they don't actually go slow motion in here.
Motion, no.
It's just a camera effect. But in the comedy, in the TV series, they went slow motion on purpose. They did like this.
They're slowly like
They're
trying to
slowly,
move. Yeah.
but it's not real. And their girlfriends are yelling at them, "Stop playing Reservoir Dogs."
Dogs.
And they're like, "Oh, sorry." And they keep going. It's because this moment in time is like, it's like Fellini's Marcello Mastroianni taking out the woman from the fountain moment.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot the name of the movie. It's a Dinner for Eight or something like that. It's what? Give me an image that is written in the histories of man.
Now in film, I'm going with modern cinema, and by that I mean the
Let's
last.
go with
30
modern cinema.
I'm going modern cinema the last 30 years, which would just include this as one of them. I would say just for God.
Abbey Road from the Beatles is a good image.
I was going to go with the end of Road to Perdition with the camera at the end. It's such a haunting shot. As dumb as it sounds, it's so iconic. The upside down Spider-Man kiss.
The upside up Spider-Man kiss is pretty iconic. I'll give you when Andy Dufresne comes out of the pipe and he goes. His hands to the sky, and the shot is from above going upwards with the rain. That one's pretty iconic, and the theme of Shawshank. All right, cool. Anything to add to that? Because we're gonna jump forward.
No, it's fine. Yeah, we can. The only other thing I was going to say is, Super Sounds of the '70s. Yes, that is Mr. Wright, Mr. Stephen Wright, who is the voice.
Oh yeah, dude.
Of Super Sounds of the '70s.
I recognize Stephen Wright. I recognize his voice.
His voice is so iconic. Like it just
so quickly. It's like, oh shit, it's Stephen Wright.
Stephen Wright. Yeah.
And I totally forgot. I can't believe I totally forgot. So
yeah. Because it cuts right there to basically when after Mr. Orange.
I'm gonna die. I know it.
I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I know it.
Yeah. So
in this one, I think this is the only role that I've seen Harvey Keitel show as a gangster. Show more of a sensitive side where he goes, "Listen, you've been brave enough. It's okay if you're scared now."
Yeah, he treats Tim Roth or Mr. Orange like not like a friend. He more like they have
like a son,
sort of a son, right? A father-son relationship more than a like an old friend and a young, like and the old guy and the new guy. The old guy, the older guy and the younger guy. It's much more of a father-son relationship because he goes way out.
That and also like he
way more than he should.
Reveals to Mr. Pink the fact that like I told him something about myself because he knew his name. He knew that his name was Larry.
Yeah,
and also like he told him some other stuff about where he had come from before, which we get from Tim Roth as when he's Freddy, not Mr. Orange when he's talking to his somewhat supervisor as during his undercover sting.
Yeah, I love that. We're gonna get to it. I do love the fact that you do get to see how an undercover cop prepares to being undercover.
Oh yeah,
we'll get to that. I want to talk about this.
Good.
This whole scene is a very long scene. By the way, I forgot. I thought. Oh, my camera goes. No, okay.
There it goes.
I forgot how long the scenes are in this one. Mm-hmm. Even though they do it's not a one shot, but they do a little bit of cut. But the whole scene itself is pretty long. The dialogue, it's a lot of dialogue for this much of a scene. This whole scene is about 25 minutes. The whole movie is an hour and a half. And this whole scene of they're going into the hideaway. Mr. Pink is coming. The talk between all three of them. Then Mr. White and Mr. Pink talk on their own. Then they come back. Then they still have a little altercation between Mr. Pink and Mr. White. And then it cuts to, now it's Mr. White's story. And then they go back in time. They Harvey and Chris Penn, and I forgot the name of the guy who plays Joe.
It is, oh god, his last name's Tierney.
Yeah, something like that. So is
Joseph
he
Tierney?
Moira Tierney's dad?
I believe so.
I think so, right? So he's they have that scene where later on Mr. Blonde has kind of similar the same scene.
Same thing. Yeah, because Mr. Blonde is just getting out of jail.
So it just adds, it's just one location that they reused because
it was supposed to be Joe Cabot's
budget.
office. I mean, it makes sense.
It does make sense. It does make sense, but it's basically the same scene with different kind of things.
Lawrence. No, you're right.
Lawrence. Okay. So
sorry about it.
The whole point of that little scene is to literally set up the whole heist story. It gives you a lot of information. What happened to the heist? Why is that guy wounded? We kind of think it's the cops, but we don't actually know.
Well, you believe 100% that it was a cop that shot him.
Yeah,
that was the thing. The way that the movie sets it up, obviously everyone else has been shot by some police officer from what they know. So you just assume that he was also shot by a cop.
And we don't, there's at what point he confesses he's a cop.
Oh, that's at the very, very, very end of the movie.
That's only the end of the movie, but
when he confesses it to Mr. White, he confesses it to the other cop that Mr. Blonde was torturing after he shot Mr. Blonde.
That's also close to the end.
It's about like 3/4 the way through. Yeah.
All right. But we get a lot of information about what's going on, who's where, who got shot, who got killed, who's missing.
But also like during that entire conversation though between Mr. Pink and Mr. Orange and Mr. White, you can see that again, Mr. Pink is the one who is the professional. Like, I'm sorry he got shot, but we gotta go because somebody set us up. He is adamant about the fact that we were set up by somebody. We have got to go because they're gonna know that we're here. Someone ratted us out. They're gonna know we're here. Let's go. Let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah. All right. This is a great time to do our first pause. Please, thank you, VLC. Thank you. This is our first segment of the night, and it is called Missing Marquee. What is Missing Marquee? For those of you who are uninitiated, Missing Marquee is we take 10 movie posters that have no text on them, and we let you and Oh My Feelings guess what is this movie. This week is tough. Prepare your anuses. Let's go.
Wow, you are not kidding.
Baby.
The fuck is this?
I bet you have not seen this.
I do not even recognize the actress, so...
Beta Fett has it.
Anna.
The name is Anna. It is a cheap imitation of Nikita.
Oh, La Femme Nikita? Okay.
Yes, it's a cheap version of it.
Black Swan. Jackie Brown.
I had to put it in there. I'm sorry.
That's easy peasy.
By the way, I've set this poster months ago.
Is it just Cabin in the Woods?
No, it is not. It is a cabin in the woods or mountains.
Oh, is that Cold Mountain?
It is not Cold Mountain. No. Beta Fett is on fucking
Oh,
fire.
Misery. Okay. No,
Misery.
I wouldn't have thought Misery. Not that's a good one. That's just Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11. I told you it's going to be rough today.
It's not The Day the Earth Stood Still.
It's not the day the earth stood still.
Oh. Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
No. Good guess, though.
I'm thinking Aliens.
We've got silence from the chat.
It's not Interstellar.
Unless Beta Fett is doing more Googling. It is not Millennium. No, Beta Fett. For the sake of levity, this
brevity.
is not brevity. Thank you.
For the sake of brevity.
I said levity. Fuck you. It is the Andromeda Strain.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
baby.
God. What's this? Is that Angels and Demons?
It's not the Angels and Demons.
Da Vinci Code.
The Da Vinci Code.
Tom Hanks with that stupid fucking haircut. Oh, that's a recent Jackie Chan film, which means I don't know it.
All right, let's see if the chat knows it. Dude, this movie is messed up.
Oh, well then I'm gonna have to watch it.
This movie is completely messed up. We've got
it's a more recent Jackie Chan film, so I definitely have not seen it.
It is a very non-typical Jackie Chan movie.
Yeah.
Very non-typical.
Not helping any of us.
He is so good in this. All right. It is The Foreigner. It also stars Pierce Brosnan.
Now I have heard of that, but I haven't seen it. So
it's very, very good. It's very good. I think it's on Amazon Prime. For those of you who have Amazon Prime, I think it's on Amazon Prime. So check it out. It's pretty fucking, but it's fucking dark.
Oh shit.
All right, we got two more, I think. Yeah, this one and another one.
Al Pacino and making movies, singing songs, and flying around the world. Tiger.
Beta Fett is correct.
The Insider.
Again. The Insider. Last one.
The Machinist.
The Machinist. Correct.
Good fucking movie. God, that's a good fucking movie.
Yeah. Good selection of this
Christian
week.
Bale got down to what, 105 pounds for that
87
role?
pounds or something like this. Something crazy. This is between The Dark Knight and
No. This is before he was going to go for the first Batman Begins. So he did The Machinist, then he put on like almost 150 pounds of muscle and fat, obviously, just to bulk himself up to play Batman in Batman Begins.
That's insane. Yeah. I thought it was between Batmans, which is
even
more
insane. The Machinist came out in, I think, 2000.
It's 2006. No, 2006. I think.
No, it was earlier than that.
Let's see. You can check it out. Good going, guys. Good going. Let's
2004. Yeah, 2004.
2004. Really? Ooh.
Yeah.
Let's move forward. Like I said, it's a long ass scene. So it starts at around as soon as like from the car is like minute 10. And by the time Mr. Blonde comes in, it's minute 34. So it's about 24 minutes from the car, Mr. Pink, all that warehouse stuff. And even in the warehouse itself, Mr. Blonde comes in and he's being called a psychopath, and he's cool as a cucumber, which you would expect from a fucking psycho. And he is cool. But as soon as he pops the trunk and everybody sees the cop, Their
Actually, wait. I got something to make you guys feel better. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
When he brings the cop in, everyone's like, "Oh, wow, oh."
And they're the inner gangster, the inner criminal in there, in them. You at this point, when they beat the fucking cop, like kick him, beat like punch him, you realize, oh shit, these guys that I feel kind of into, because as a viewer, you immediately being antagonized by Mr. Blonde. As a normal individual, you would be antagonized by the demeanor and what Mr. Pink is describing that happened. And also Mr. White is like, oh, you asshole. It's like, why did you shoot those people? We didn't need to shoot those people. You immediately, as a viewer, is like, oh, yeah, this guy's a motherfucker.
Well,
And
also, if you think about it, the way that they react, and they kind of just they beat the shit out of that cop. You have to take into consideration where they are essentially inherently antagonists. So the visceral reaction that the gangsters have to the cop is somewhat understandable, because not only the fact that the people that they set up this heist with, one of them they know is dead, Mr. Brown.
yeah,
Mr. Orange is laying there bleeding to death due to the fact that of the cops' intervention, essentially. Even though Mr. Blonde was kind of at fault of bringing the cops in, but
it
anyway,
really doesn't matter
from what they know. But at that point, they're like, well, two of our new friends are dead because of people like you.
Exactly.
So this is what we think about you. And also, they could be thinking too, like, well, yeah, you could have shot me and I could have died.
Exactly. So you're already put in a position where you don't like Mr. Blonde. You're set up as a viewer to not like Mr. Blonde, and you're more empathetical to Mr. White and Mr. Orange and Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink,
like, especially.
I mean, like, if anything, you feel kind of the most empathy for Mr. Pink until you see his story about his getaway.
Well, you don't. Dude, the guy left there alone. Everybody's fucking dead. What do you want?
Oh, no. I mean, the original story of his getaway, how he got away from the heist.
Well, yeah.
Because, to be fair, as a viewer of many films, you recognize a Wilhelm scream when you hear one, and the fact that they had to use one during Mr. Pink's runaway.
Yeah.
Always just immediately like, I don't like you anymore. It wasn't your fault, but just I associate you now with the Wilhelm scream.
Exactly. All right. So Chris Penn's character comes in, shouts at everybody, blah, blah, blah. They go and get the diamonds, right? So Mr. White goes, Mr. Pink goes, and Chris Penn,
no, they all go. Because Nice Guy Eddie.
Nice Guy Eddie.
Chris Penn's character comes in and says, immediately, we got to move all these cars. Because they parked just all ramshackle outside of the of the hideout, where it's like, hey, come on, dum-dums, move the cars.
Let's get these cars out of here, because this is a convention of stolen vehicles over here.
Yeah,
so just but this scene where Michael Madsen dances, he puts on.
Oh yeah, stuck in the middle with you, like. No, he's playing again the super songs of the '70s. He's playing the same radio channel that all of them have been listening to throughout the film. Even when Nice Guy Eddie is driving and he's on the phone, he's listening to super sounds of the '70s because Stephen Wright says something and they play another song. Yeah, so
but it's like faded in the background because a little
bit.
Nice Guy Eddie's talking on the phone.
Yeah, no, but anyway, so this is another reason why this is one of the most quintessential scenes of the film, because also again, Little Green Bag, whenever you hear that song, you think of Reservoir Dogs. Whenever you hear Stuck in the Middle with You, you think of this scene.
Yeah, the torture
from Reservoir Dogs alone.
It's so long. The scene is way longer than I remembered, because he's doing the torture very methodically,
Mhm.
very like it's escalating, but it's very slow, as if there's no rush, there's no nothing, if there's no cops, there's no rush in this point. And I was like, aren't aren't those people wanting to get away? It's like, I know they're everybody here, but they were told to wait for Joe, so they're waiting for Joe,
Joe, yeah.
and that's it. And in the meantime, one of them gets the diamonds, the other one is like moving cars, and Mr. Blonde is torturing a guy for no information at all. It's like, I don't need information from you. I don't care if we got set up. I have no idea what, but I just want to maim you. So
Oh
he
yeah.
starts to
And
dance.
what was the line too when Chris Penn first walks in? He goes, "Yeah, you hit him enough times, he's going to tell you essentially whatever you want." But he says he's going to tell you that someone was the snitch. I can't remember what it was now at the top of my head.
Yeah.
Forgot to write it down.
It
But
doesn't
anyway,
matter.
no, it was the same thing. It was like, yeah, if you keep hitting him, he's going to tell you whatever just to get you to stop hitting him.
Yeah, Seth, I know. He was just bored.
Bored.
It's the whole point. The whole point of this scene is to literally show how Vic Vega is a nasty piece of work. So he cuts off the ear, then he
Well,
goes
he slices his
outside.
face, then
Yeah.
he cuts off the ear, and what he does, he picks up the ear and goes, "Hey, can you hear me?"
It's so crazy.
Like,
This whole scene is so crazy. And then he goes outside. He
he goes
takes
like, "Well, I'm gonna be right back."
Yeah, he takes the gasoline, he pours it all over the guy. I have no
Like-
idea how this guy isn't immediately blind, but okay.
Yeah.
And
But also, when he pours on him, what does he say? What's the first thing? I was like, "Oh, does that burn?"
yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
exactly. He's so detached. He's so psychotic. He's so detached from what he's actually doing. The horrific thing that he's doing, it's insane. And when he goes to light the match, Mr. Orange comes to life, shoots the guy
Man.
because, fellow cop. He tells him, I'm a cop, and then it starts the Mr. Orange.
Orange. Well, the
Yeah.
thing is too is the other cop was like, "Yeah, I know you're a cop. We met last year." And the fact that the cop that was being tortured didn't sell him out gives, I think his name is Mitch. Yeah, I think the cop's name is Mitch.
Mitch.
Gives Mitch like the most amount of like integrity as a character out of all of them, because even being tortured, he didn't sell Mr. Orange out.
Yeah. Now, I want to touch about something that I didn't pick up because, again, I'm not a comic book fan, but
Oh yeah,
But-
yeah. I know.
the Jack Kirby Silver Surfer.
Yep.
And please enlighten me, what is Kamikaze Cowboy?
Boy.
Because I've been watching Cowboy Bebop for the last few weeks, slowly but surely finishing the season. I was like, oh, that looks very familiar, but not.
It shouldn't at all.
It shouldn't.
No.
It's is that another Jack Kirby?
It's kind of a one-off kind of thing that didn't go very well because it's
Which
kind
is-
of like, I don't know, super racist.
Yeah. So there is the Silver Surfer, but later on you also see the Fantastic Four as well,
Four?
right?
Yes, because they talk about the
They
Fantastic
talk
Four.
about it. They talk about the Fantastic Four and who's the thing and why does he have a junk or not junk or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But you
Well, because
see
Tarantino is also a huge
comic book fan.
comic book nerd. Like he loves comic books.
And I like the fact that even in Mr. Orange's story, it starts at a certain point, then goes back, then it comes back into forward, then it goes into that day, but like a day before,
Earlier on, yeah.
on, and it jumps and comes back and all that stuff. and it's a really cool way of telling a story. You could get lost in it sometimes with the time jumps.
Possibly. Yeah.
Hey, some people got lost in the Witcher, the first season of Witcher, and that was time
A
jumping
lot of
all over the
a
place.
lot of people did, but that
Yeah, a
had a
lot of
lot
people did.
more time bending stuff than this film did, and
Yeah,
especially
but
like even Pulp Fiction did.
yeah, the time bending here does not break your story because it is some sort of a progression. Because you do get the training. Let's call it a training montage, and then cut to the real thing.
Yeah,
Cut to going back to the montage,
but
but
it was whether they refer
with
to
the
it,
cops.
it's the commode story.
Yeah, the commode story.
Yeah,
It's so good because it cuts back and then it cuts forward. But the commode story, you see the commode story in like in a visual sense because you do
yeah,
see
no, because he's
him
telling the
as
story, and you know, even the way that it's set up with Joe, Mr. White, and Nice Guy Eddie at the bar with Mr. Orange telling them the story. What does that scene remind you of in Pulp Fiction?
uh the bar scene at the start.
No, the bar scene with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, the bar scene at the start after the when they come in wearing the dopey clothes after they shot Marvin in the face.
Yeah.
So
Like,
it's
what the hell are
after
you
the
wearing?
what?
Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck are you wearing?
Yeah, it's your clothes, motherfucker. Never mind. No. It's the first bar scene. It's not the first scene in the movie, but it's the
No,
first
yeah,
bar scene.
well, the first bar scene with the three of them. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I was referring to. Yeah.
it kind of reminds me of that, but
No,
I don't
because
know.
John Travolta is like Nice Guy Eddie in that scene where he is the one who is questioning Mr. Orange about the details of his story. If you pay attention to it, he's asking like, so what? Like why'd you bring the weed with you? Because he wanted it right then and there. Why'd you
Mm,
have it on you when you went to the bathroom? Like why would you do these things?
yeah. Well, I guess. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we do see a such a great shot just before he leaves. Yes, I know another glory shot of Silver
Yes,
Surfer.
and also fucking Fruit Brute.
What is Fruit Brute? What the
It's a
hell is
it's a
that?
cereal that was in America. It was also like if there are any Americans watching this, it's the same. It was on the same kind of lines with Boo Berry, Count Chocula, Frankenberry, and you had Fruit Brute. Yeah.
Isn't Count Chocula a favorite of the weed smoking crowd? Well,
I think it's to
that's
be
what
fair,
Robin
all of
Williams
them
told me.
are giant fans. Everyone who smokes a lot of pot loves those cereals.
I mean, well, it's the whole scene of Freddy going downstairs and then he rejoins with Nice Guy 80 and Mr. White, and they are talking about that sort of thing. Then cut to him with the informant, with the his CO,
His
I think it's
superior,
CO,
yeah, as a
and
CEO.
coming back to story
Yep.
in the room, and everybody's coming back, and we get the final scene.
And
Which
what
is
would also like
I'm
when they're
just
all
yeah, I'm
together
just gonna
in that.
show it for a little bit.
Yes, this scene when they're, which by the way you even if you could play clips, this is a scene you would not want to play a clip of
Oh yeah,
because you'd
I
have
know.
to keep beeping it all the time.
Yeah, it's
But
harkens back to what we said at the start. There's a
a lot of N bombs in this movie.
megaton of N words in this,
A lot of them.
and for no fucking reason.
No, not at all. Not at
And
all.
if I know for a fact that people keep asking Tarantino
Why he does it? Yeah.
why he does it in his movies. He said that most of his at least one interview I saw, which is a very like a new one, so it's like 2019 I think, or 2018. um what he said to the interviewers is a lot of people a lot of people, and he didn't say white people, he said people. A lot of people use that word, not a derogatory term, but you would use it as you would call somebody a Jew, and like, oh, that Jew motherfucker, that something like that, in a very casual way, because the setting is very casual. Not to mention the fact that these are bad people,
Yeah.
inherently bad
Which,
people.
and
All of
again,
his
that's
stories is about bad
bad
people.
people
Bad
doing
people
bad
say
things. Yeah.
bad shit, right?
Yeah.
They say bad shit all the time because they they allow themselves to do criminal things as if it was you going to the store. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't they say outlandish shit in a, let's say, a comfortable situation, a comfortable conversation with other people who are the same as they
Just
are?
like them. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's gangster talk.
Yeah.
So they would call a German a kraut. They would call a black person and the N-word. They would use these derogatory terms because they are not bound
By
to
the
they're not
confines
bound
or
to
the
the
restraints
confines
of
of a normal
yeah. Yeah.
conversation, because these are not
Yeah.
normal people. These are people living on the outskirts of society, basically.
Yeah.
That's
Which
why that's why he said that's why they are using that language.
Yeah. Well, and also if you look at some of his more recent films outside of The Hateful Eight, which The Hateful Eight, the context at least made sense
Yes.
because it was an 1867. Beta, correct me if I'm wrong on that because I know it's your favorite Tarantino film, but I know it was right after the Civil War, which where it's not that far removed. That could have been a social norm where that was just part of the common parlance.
Even up to the 1960s in some places. Just think about it. Up to the 1960s,
in
there are a lot of
some places in the American South that still consider common parlance, but we're not going to talk about that.
Not my country. But yeah, that's the whole point. It's not about the specifics of N-word. They're talking about black people, so they're going to use the N-word. If they were talking about Jews, they would probably use a derogatory term about Jews, and or Irish, and or German, and or whatever.
Yeah. Because I believe they do actually in another movie we're going to review, which is in a couple of weeks. True Romance. I believe the K word is used in reference to a Jewish person.
Probably.
I believe so. But given the parlance of the character, because the person saying it is a real piece of shit.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's outskirts people talking outlandish outskirts language. That's it. That's
but in a way, it also helps to set up the fact where you can't become enamored with the character too much. You can't empathize with them that much because deep down, you know that they're not a good person.
Yep.
By how they speak. Because Mr. White, no matter what he has done in the interim, when he and Mr. Orange are making their getaway and he shoots the cops.
Yeah. He
was doing that in almost in that way. He had to kind of do it in self-defense because he was going to get killed. So you could kind of almost justify it in sort of a way if you've got to twist your mind that way. No, but his conversation where he's just randomly just throwing out the N-word, deep down, he's not that good of a guy. Even though he's caring for Mr. Orange.
He is technically a murderer.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he? Oh, I'm a murderer, so I can't. I'm not saying the N-word. I'm a total PC dude.
Yeah.
And a murderer? Give me a break.
Yeah.
It just adds to the credibility of the character itself. If the character wouldn't say that in a movie, it just at the end of the day, it doesn't fit.
It would ring false if he were to not. Well, or if he were to actively call someone out for saying the word. Now, had there been a black guy on the crew calling them out for saying it, then yeah, that would be completely different. but them sitting amongst themselves of the same racial group because they're all white dudes.
Yeah.
Why would one of them ever go like, "Oh, maybe you shouldn't say that"? That's not okay to say.
I mean, we're gonna touch upon that when we talk about Pulp Fiction, because in Pulp Fiction, there's like again,
Yeah, Tarantino's character, that one,
but Tarantino's character is also a criminal.
Well, yeah, but
hides,
also
he gives,
if you look at every single role that Tarantino has ever played in any single film he's ever been in, he's always been a piece of shit.
exactly
Reservoir
that's
Dogs,
the whole point.
Pulp Fiction, Dawn of the From Dusk Till Dawn,
as well. That's
Django Unchained.
All right, I'm gonna touch upon before we move on. I really want to touch upon this scene because this scene is
the scene about the names. Yes,
it seems so out of place with the rest of the movie. When I remember this scene fondly because it's a funny scene.
What they should have done is
very funny.
It's one of my main critiques of the film is I think they should have put this scene shortly after the original diner scene. When they gave everyone, like, when they're already referring to everyone as their names in the diner scene at the very first scene, play the walk, then play this scene, then cut to him being shot, because this makes so much more sense earlier on as opposed to right now.
That's what I said. This scene it's super. I think it's just a thought. The diner scene is also comedic in nature.
Yeah.
And I think he moved it back because he didn't want to put like too much
bits of
emphasis
levity at
on
the same time
on the comedy elements in the two scenes together. Maybe I'm thinking out of the box here.
No, that's fair.
But
that's fair.
You wouldn't put two comedic scenes together in a non-comedic movie because this, like I said, this scene seems to be so out of place in terms of the content of it and where it's placed in the movie. If you would have put this scene and or at least cut it in half, all the part about the names, if you cut that away and just go into the actual plan, it would seem okay, but there is that element of the names, which is
the only thing that I was thinking
the most
of.
funny thing in it.
Well, the only thing that I was thinking of is just the way that they're all sitting around, they're laughing and joking. Cut to a juxtaposition of Joe Cabot immediately chastising them for laughing around and joking. Because he goes, well, for right now, what I can see is I see a whole bunch of guys sitting around and saying, Quentin, just wondering about like how the heist went wrong, blaming each other, and then one of you guys has the goddamn realization that, hey, we were fucking joking around when we were planning this goddamn job to begin with.
Yeah.
Now listen up.
And it literally resets that whole name conversation immediately. Except for Steve Buscemi sneaking in and
no, because that was before they started going about the names.
Yeah,
because they were joking around before, but no, what the names thing is, the one thing that always got me about that, because it is so fundamentally true, was like, listen, I'm giving you all names because someone's gonna fucking always argue about who's gonna be Mr. Black.
Yeah. And everyone wants to be Mr. Black.
Because everybody wants to be Mr. Black, and nobody knows anybody else's name, so no one's gonna back down from it.
Exactly. And there's no Mr. Black.
Yeah, there's never
no
is.
Mr. Black. All right, so before
and then moving on from there is like when Mr. Pink goes, why do I have to be Mr. Pink? It's like, can I be Mr. Purple? Like, no, Mr. Purple's on another job. You're Mr. Pink. Just be happy you aren't Mr. Yellow.
Question. We've got a question from the chat. I'll address it. Is tipping popular in Israel? We, contrary to what other people think, we are great tippers. We tip very well. Now, of course, there are the odd cheapskates, but I think if I'm not mistaken, the customary tip was 10%. I think in some places it's 15% customary. You don't have to do it. In Europe, it's already built in some places. Like in Italy, it's
Well,
built
I
in
know
the tip.
actually. Well, in most places, especially in Europe, they actually pay their waiters a living wage, so they don't have to survive on tips.
We
Yeah.
there's an obligatory minimum. There's also an obligatory minimum wage element in any salary for waitresses.
Yeah, it's different in the States where they get paid way below minimum wage, where there some places they make like $3.50 an hour.
That's insane.
And then
But
they have to make all of their money on tips.
yeah,
It's fucked up. It's always
that's
been
very
fucked
fucked
up.
up.
So
Anyway,
that's why, like, if any American like goes somewhere where they're kind of almost offended if you tip, where it's because we're always like, oh my god, if I don't tip you, you're not going to eat tonight. Like we feel obligated.
yeah,
to
it's customary about 10%, but in certain places, it's even in the check. It says customary. We get 10,
Oh, that's fine.
12,
Yeah.
or 15, and you don't have to put the tip. But again,
Oh.
it's
I know in the States.
most
In the
people
States.
don't even think about it, and they
Yeah.
just put down about 10% because they know it goes to people who actually need it.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
it's always in the States. It's always at least 20%.
Okay.
That's just that. Well, because it's different because they're actually being paid more per hour anyway. So in the long run, the waiters and waitresses in your country are getting paid more overall, regardless.
Probably. Like there are some shitty places where nobody gets minimum wage, but
Yeah.
you can't. On most places, they do get minimum wage plus tips, and their tips are not being taxed. By the way, tipping is not taxable in my country, as far as I know. As far as I know. All right,
Yeah.
we
Not
are
ours,
going
but-
to our next segment, which I have to set up again. Clank and clank. The name of the segment is Cinema Deathmatch.
Cinema Deathmatch.
What is Cinema Deathmatch for the uninitiated? Well, Cinema Deathmatch is we take two movies. We go to a website called flickchart.com. We take two movies, we pit them together and see which one is the better one. If there's no clear winner, we go to our criteria, which is we've got two movies. Out with the boys, out with the girls, Friday evening, Saturday evenings, whatever. Just two movies. Which one will we watch? Cut to this. Chat participation is most welcome. Pinocchio or Remember the
Nylon
Titans?
mandatory. Oh god. I don't like either of these movies.
You want me to start?
Yes.
Titans. Because Denzel. It's a terrible movie, by the way. We've got Titans. We've got Pinocchio.
I'm
What
gonna
say
have
you,
to.
sir?
I'm gonna have to go with Titans just because I hate Disney almost as much as you do. Sorry, Beta.
Toy Story 3 or A Dead Man Don't Wear Plaid. It's plaid.
Plaid. Have you seen it?
I think I did a long time ago.
I think you need
Didn't
to put it
like
under. I think you need to put it under haven't seen it because I don't think you've seen it.
Is
Because
that
not
the
very many
one-
people have fucking seen it.
Is that the one where it's a pseudo noir movie and Steve Martin touches the woman's breasts at some point?
Yeah.
Seen it. Absolutely seen it. It's pretty fucking good. It's pretty good. There's a
Okay.
few scenes in it where
It's funny.
you're never ever gonna get away with it. Even in the 90s, you wouldn't even get away with it.
Oh
That's 82.
no.
Check it out. Yeah, it's
was actually-
really hard. By the way, it's
Oh God,
really
come on!
hard to
That's so.
find.
This one's so fucking easy. Come on. It's
Come
one that
on.
we reviewed.
Yeah, it's Halloween. I mean, I love The Mask, but Godfather Part 2 or The Fugitive. Now this
Now, a movie
This
that we are
is
going to
good.
review very, very soon. We have to go with The Godfather Part 2.
it is the best of the three.
Godfather.
I think.
Yes, I know. That's the
is the
reason why I
best-
picked it for the Gangster Month, which is coming up.
Yeah. But I really love The Fugitive. I really love The Fugitive.
So now we've got 2 and 2. So you're gonna have to coin flip this one.
We're gonna go with Godfather Part 2. I'm gonna go with Godfather Part 2. Godfather Part 2 and Underworld.
Again.
All right. Dodgeball.
Oh,
Or the
Shawshank, come on.
Shawshank Redemption. I think that's an easy pick. We don't even have to refer to the chat because Saf doesn't know what good movies are. Armageddon or Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Now, tell me, sir, do you like Scott Pilgrim?
Now, I have to say, as an interim, I think this was a great version of an adaptation of an indie comic into a film. Did they do it the right way? I don't think so, but I have to go with Scott Pilgrim.
Really? I'm going to go with Armageddon. I do not like Armageddon. I did say that in the past, but I could not finish Scott Pilgrim.
That's
couldn't.
fair.
Michael Cera, I like him in certain things, but he's one of those actors where
he can become
Michael Cera in a
insufferable.
Michael Cera movie starring Michael Cera.
And also, Michael Cera is kind of insufferable. So yeah,
I really don't like him.
That's fine.
So it's going to be Armageddon, and the chat backs me up on that one. Oh shit! Okay. Alien Resurrection.
One's a terrible movie, and one's a movie about a terrible topic.
And Bowling for Columbine, which I wouldn't even call it a movie. It's a documentary.
It's not. It's a documentary. Put it under haven't seen it. I don't think it's fair to put. No, it's not fair to put any kind of movie against a documentary. That's fair. Now let's. Yeah, Bad Boys. Bad Boys again, which is the only film to feature Juke Joint Jezebel by KMFDM, one of my favorite bands of all time.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Bad Boys. It's a fantastic body cop movie. It's a fantastic action movie. The only low point in this movie is Tia Leone.
Tia Leone was
she's so bad in this one.
Yeah.
I never liked Tia Leone. I like her face. Never liked her personality. Never liked her in any. Even in fucking Spanglish, she's insufferable.
Yeah.
Ugh, bleh.
Yeah. But Beta, on your comment there, Bowling for Columbine, it did win the Palme d'Or, but it won it for best documentary, which doesn't really count.
It's really hard to compare it's like comparing a biography book and a fiction book.
Well, you mean fiction and nonfiction?
Fiction and nonfiction.
Two completely different
things.
So
difficult. There's no. As a movie, it's so difficult to even pit together. So at the end of the day, would you watch Bowling for Columbine or would you watch the other one? I would watch Alien over Bowling for Columbine, even without knowing what it is.
As a rewatch, yeah,
for sure.
This one,
Garden State or Kindergarten Cop? I'm going to go with
Garden State.
Cop.
Garden State is by far one of the most overrated fucking films of all time. That movie is actually kind of fucking garbage. Yeah, it's not a Tuma. It's not a Tuma. It's Kindergarten Cop.
Would you say Kindergarten Cop is the best comedy that Arnold did, or is it Twins?
Ooh,
both came out relatively the same.
Because I think
time, early 90s.
Twins came out in what? No, Twins
88?
came out in 88 or 89.
Something like that. So it was like that sort of a time. When he was like, I'm done with doing action. I want to do more comedic.
No. His best comedy role, True Lies.
Ooh.
How he
I'll
pretended to be the meek and mild guy.
I'll concede.
Yeah.
We're gonna do two more. This one and another pair. Ghost Rider or Harry Potter.
Okay, chat. You want to hate me? Yo, you want to hate me so bad right now because fuck Harry Potter. Harry Potter is by far the most overrated series of all time. It's goddamn gibberish. It's goddamn terrible, and you know it. Ghost Rider. Yes, Nick Cage Ghost Rider.
It's not that funny. I'm gonna go Ghost Rider because god damn, is he fucking insane in that movie.
Oh, come on!
Or get
hey, wait. Hey, can I say it? Can I say it?
You can say it.
You Jew motherfucker, you!
All right. Which brings us to that end of
that next one was actually going to be a really good pairing. The Wrestler versus Rocky?
We can do it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Now this one.
Extra. It's an encore. An encore. The Wrestler or Rocky.
Key.
Go ahead, chat. Go for it.
I want to say, Beta Saf, I want to see your guys' opinions on that one because this one I'm torn on.
I'm torn on as well. Rocky is slow going, but it's really good because it actually, more than the actual fight itself, it tells a very unique story. Very mid 70s, very Philadelphia. It did take the Chuck Waffner story, but it added so much to make it a Stallone movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so good. And the payoff is it doesn't matter if I lost because I won.
Yeah.
And the Wrestler,
in the same vein, it's sort of the same thing.
Same vein. I lost, but I won because I regained myself.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Rocky.
Yeah.
You know what? Edged it? Soundtrack.
Oh yeah. Well, I would say just for the fact how it is so iconic, I do have to just inevitably give it to Rocky. I mean, but The Wrestler, and it's like if you have not seen that film, oh god, please go watch it because it is by far one of the most profoundly just emotionally gut-wrenching roles I have ever seen adapted to film. It is such a good story, and the inherent, not only just how inherently down on his luck Mickey Rourke's character is, but how he wants to actually better himself as a person for not only his new love interest, but also his trying to rekindle his relationship with his daughter, and then at the end how he can't do that, and he's still at the end trying to chase the limelight from everything that he lost in his past. It's heartbreaking. Yeah, it's such a good fucking movie.
I need to rewatch it. We discussed it many times over the past few weeks, coming up on Cinema Deathmatch. And I was like, "Fuck, I need to rewatch that."
All right, like fuck, The Wrestler's a good movie.
Right, last scene, and we'll sum up the entire show. This scene, which Nice Eddie. I know I'm babbling here. Nice Eddie comes in, and they're already in that discussion of what we're gonna do with the cop and all the torture, all the thing, all that.
Well, that Mr. Orange tells him like, what happened here? What happened here? And Mr. Orange says, "Nice guy Eddie. Well, he cut the cop's ear off. He was going to pour gasoline all over him, then set him on fire, kill him. Then he was going to kill me, and then he's going to wait for you to come in. Then he's going to shoot you." And that's where he goes, No, wait. Okay, listen. He got busted for basically like doing a big heist for us. Got caught with all the merchandise. Could have flipped on us like that and walked away with nothing. He did a stint for us in jail. He came out, and now you're telling me that he just wanted to kill us? Now you're telling me he wanted to kill us all to get the cash when he could have easily flipped on us and gotten away without everything. No,
Yeah,
I
but
don't believe.
you
I
went
don't believe.
one step past what I wanted, but I like the
Yeah.
fact that it's the futility of he told him all that story, and before it kind of registered for Eddie, what you said, he's like, "Bang bang, cop is dead."
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah.
so the
Oh, you mean this cop?
futility.
Bang bang. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the futility of we've done all that. It kind of sets us up because Blonde is dead. It sets us up for getting to, maybe the both cops are gonna stay alive. It's like bang bang. It's like, that's
Yeah.
right.
No.
Nobody. And I like the fact that it starts this scene up, and the tension builds up little by little. So Eddie questions Mr. Orange, which kind of prompts Mr.
Well,
White.
Mr.
Mr.
White to
White
be
is
defensive of
defending
things.
him,
Like, well, yeah. Well,
and
again, Mr. White being the veteran of the group, he is the most naive of them.
yeah,
Mr. Pink, because you love the fact that you never saw Mr. Pink because he was hiding underneath that rampart the whole damn time. I love that. I love that.
and
But
the fact that he like I said, the tension starts to building,
build.
and the story, he doesn't believe the story. Then
Yeah.
White comes to the rescue. Then Joe comes in and adds to the whole mix. And then I need to set this up. I want.
Oh, you want the scene with the basically the three-way Mexican standoff?
Yeah, the standoff. There's a long shot of it before they kill each other. You can see it. I'm trying to switch into it.
No, I got you. Well, no, the way that it's set up, where Joe comes in and basically like, well, listen, he has to be the rat. He's the only one in the entire group I wasn't sure of. Mr. White tells him, well, how do you know that? What proof do you have? Joe says, I don't need proof when I have instinct. And he was right the whole time. And at the same time, Mr. White is telling Joe, listen, if you shoot this man, if you kill this man, I'm going to have to shoot you.
Yeah, and what I didn't understand is how come he was so loyal? How did he develop loyalty? Like, how did Mr. White develop loyalty to Mr. Orange that quickly? How did they? Because we do see a scene of them casing the joint, like casing the outside of the jewelry store, and you do see.
He did mention that Mr. Orange, or Freddie, did mention to his CO in that one person interview where he goes, yeah, I think I'm really starting to get this guy Mr. White's trust. Because, he told me something like he told me he was from, like, it was like, well, how do you know he's starting? Because he was talking about how happy he was, he won money on the Brewers game, and he was so happy the Brewers won. It's like, oh, so you must be from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And then later, Mr. White was the only one who actually broke the pact before all of this happened, where he actually told Mr. Orange not only his name but where he was from.
Yeah, confirming that he's from Wisconsin.
Confirming the fact that he was already developing that kind of almost mentor-mentee kind of relationship.
Yeah, like
an
I said,
older crook and a younger crook, or like a father and son kind of relationship. It was on that same kind of level. And also the man basically, had it been Mr. White on the other side who tried to carjack that woman, it'd been Mr. White who was shot in the gut driving around.
And maybe
Orange would have been driving Mr. White around.
Yeah, maybe that's where it comes from. I was trying to understand how. I get it that they formed some sort of a bond, but it seems so deep. Like we said at the start, super deep to people who know each other for basically a few days, maybe a few weeks. Yeah. So it's a little bit more deeper than just I'm defending him because he shot the guy who I think is a big asshole, blah, blah, blah. And it seems very plausible to do. So we get this standoff, right? You get this standoff. And what triggers the shot?
It was the last thing where the last line before all shots are fired was
Wait, before you continue. So who took the first shot? Greedo or Solo?
To be fair, it was Solo. Solo's a piece
It
of
was
shit.
Solo, by the way. Right. Okay.
No, but in this instance, I believe it had to have been. It's either got to be Jacob or Mr. White. Sorry, not
Joe.
Joe.
I
Joe or Mr.
I think
White.
so. I think it was Joe, but he's pointing at Mr. Orange. He didn't hit Mr. Orange.
Well, no,
He hit
because
Mr. White.
Well, because Mr. White gets hit twice in the chest.
So he gets hit by Joe.
I think he got hit by Joe, and then he got hit by Nice Guy Eddie, because Mr. White kills them both.
Yes, he shoots Joe first, then Eddie shoots him. He turns and he shoots Eddie.
Yeah, but it's shown that Mr. White was shot at least twice.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that they both shot Mr. White, because otherwise, Mr. Orange would have had to have been dead. If he got another bullet, he wouldn't have been able to have a conversation at the end.
Yeah.
So
and basically that's it.
Speaking of, no, and there was the last line that is said before this whole thing goes down, whole thing fucks up, is Nice Guy Eddie saying, "Stop pointing the gun at my dad!" And bang, they all die. Well, not all of them die.
Well, not all of them die.
Because Mr. White isn't dead. Mr. White is apparently a hell of a shot because he killed both of them.
Yeah, but the whole point is the cop is dead. The tortured cop is dead. Like Eddie's dead. Joe's dead. Mr. White is going to die. And he has to stay alive to just hear the truth. Spoiler. The truth.
Yeah.
And
why are you saying spoiler?
I'm joking. How come Mr. Orange is still alive?
Well, the gut shot, he's slowly bleeding out. I mean, well, granted, with how much blood is showing there, he would have been dead. He would have been segregated. But
dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see,
it's film logic. Come on.
Yeah. Mr. Pink wasn't always under the ramp. He was stood roughly where the cop was, not close, but roughly where the cop is, and he was slowly backing away.
Yeah.
And when the shots came off, he was already under the ramp.
Under it. Yeah.
But then he comes out, he takes the diamond bag, which is right next to Mr. Blonde, because Eddie comes in, puts down the bag, checks Mr. Blonde,
and you're wondering,
and then you start the conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you heard a lot of the cop noises later, which is what happens at the very end when after they have the last dialogue between Mr. White and Mr. Orange, where Mr. Orange confesses, like, "Larry, I'm sorry, I'm a cop.
Yeah,
I'm a cop, Larry. I'm a cop. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." And Mr. White is just like, "I've been played for a sucker this whole time."
Yeah. So he takes out a gun, puts it into his head. The cops
bust
jump in. He shoots Mr. Orange, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, because there's one shot and then there's a whole bunch of shots.
One shot, and then Mr. White gets drilled with holes with
bullets,
with bullets and dies.
So yeah, at the end you don't know if Mr. Pink got away, but I would like to hope that he did.
I would imagine, like I said,
the one true professional out of this whole misbegotten
ordeal.
crew gets away with the whole goddamn ordeal. Because if you think about it logically, the way things should have worked out was the whole heist should have gone off without a hitch, without anybody getting shot or anything, because they had him undercover. Everybody knew someone was undercover, right?
Yeah.
They would have got the diamonds, went to the stash house, waited for Joe Cabot to show up at the stash house. Then they would have came in, busted everybody.
Yeah.
And that would have been the end of it. Nobody would have died. Nobody would have gotten hurt. But Mr. Blonde, Vic Vega, was the one who threw that giant monkey wrench in the whole works, where he just went, you know what? Somebody's gonna die today.
Exactly.
I told her
pretty
I
sure
don't like alarms.
the fact of the matter is, even if the alarms, like, the whole point was everybody was on high alert because they wanted Joe. Because they set
Yes.
off the alarm and shots were fired, they went and the cops went in. I think the cops went in prematurely anyway.
That's true. Yeah.
But they were there in full force because they were going to get Joe. They were just going to follow
Well, that and
that
also
crew.
they also had to be kind of prepared too, because shit like
Yeah,
this could happen.
They were prepared to follow that crew into that safe house.
Yeah. Well, but also know that they had to be prepared in case something like this were to happen.
Yeah.
In case one of them were to just,
It makes sense story-wise why things got escalated into a situation where they had to intervene and then all went to shit.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do a little bit of a summarization. After watching this critically, what do you think of the movie now? Now, I know you've watched it more than once this week.
Yeah. I think it still stands up. I think it really still does stand up as a really good movie. Again, as we discussed before, I think it's still number 12 in my list of all time. There's a reason why it is aggregated so high in every kind of critic scoring across the board, across many decades, across any other any platform you can think of. It's rated at least over 80%, which is universally almost kind of unfounded.
Well, these days it's pretty hard, but yeah.
Yeah. But no, I still think it stands up as a good film. There are some inherent flaws. Again, this was Tarantino's actual first job.
Debut,
Well, his first debut directing a movie, not writing a movie, which we're going to cover his first actual writing credit later.
Yeah.
But no, I think overall it's still a great film. I think it still stands up, and I think everybody should give it a watch one time. If you like a heist film, you're going to love this movie. If you love movies like 12 Angry Men, you're going to love this movie.
Oh, yeah. So, for me, I've been a Tarantino not fan for a while because I don't like most of his later work. I do appreciate more of the earlier stuff, including Reservoir Dogs. Now, it's been a while since I've watched this movie. I've watched Pulp Fiction way more than I watched this one. But I've seen it around 10, 15 times before this week. And this week I've watched it once, just with camera on, just watching it. Didn't do anything special. I just wanted to see if I remember a lot of stuff. And I did remember a lot of stuff. But one of the things that came to mind when I was watching it was, this is way slower than I remember. This is a very slow movie.
Yeah. It's very methodical in its pacing.
Yeah, it's very, very slow. Even though it jumps from here to there, it's all done at a purpose. So,
it's very deliberate. Yeah,
you need to know this. So I'm going to tell you a story. It's like, I'm telling you a story, but it's about a character that you need to know about his or her motivation. Let me tell you a side story so you'll know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And we continue the main story. That sort of thing. Along with a lot of comedic things, which are to a comedic effect, but you would hear that type of conversation when you're talking amongst your friends, sitting around either at a table here or somewhere else. The whole the names with the colors, that sort of conversation about something meaningless you would have with your friends. The Madonna and the big dick thing, again, same sort of conversation you would have between friends, mostly guy friends, but not only. But like I said, the meaningless thing, it's just a type of conversation between friends. I'm repeating myself 17 times. And also, it's the one thing that I didn't like, the fact that it was slow. Most of even Pulp Fiction, even though it is slow at times, it's a lot of information, a lot of action, not shooting stuff action, but stuff is always going
Always
on,
happening. Mhm.
always happening, always going on. Especially in the Bruce Willis's story, where it's 4 different things all jumbled up and together. His taxi ride, his girlfriend 1 and his girlfriend 2,
Booch.
it's everything that happens when he goes to take the watch, everything that happens with
Also, just so you know, the
yeah.
taxi driver's name was Esmeralda Villalobos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that movie way too many fucking times. If you couldn't
We're gonna I'm just giving you so it's a lot of things happening and it's packed in a very long scene. And then this one, not a lot of stuff happens. There's a lot of dialogue and it's a lot of exposition and talking about stuff that happened that we can't show you, but we're
Yeah.
talking about it so much. It puts you in the scene even though you never saw it before.
Yeah.
That is what happens in this movie. Along with a little bit of action scenes and very disturbing torture scene, but for me, I wouldn't put it in my top 20 personally, but
That's fair.
it's so good. It's for filmmakers, especially, it's a must watch on how to tell a story correctly.
I think this
and
would be a
giving you-
especially a master class for a first-time director. Like, this is how a first-time director should make a film.
I would say as well. Like I can compare it to Clerks in terms of the
Yes.
amount of dialogue coming in. It's so different. So different of a movie, but we're working at budget constraints and telling you so much that the characters tell you so much dialogue. It places you in those places that I can't really show you. It is a lot more tell not show but because of budget constraints. Otherwise I would show it to you rather than just tell you.
Yeah. I think had the budget been larger, they would have shown the bank robbing scene, and this would have been a 2-hour movie.
Probably. I would say probably, but it's like it's a lot of text and it's condensed into an hour.
Well, then also they
45.
would have shown what happened to Mr. Blue, because we still don't know.
Yeah, we still don't know. We know he's dead. You know, Blue is dead because Joe says Eddie or Joe, one of them says Blue is dead.
Yeah.
And we see Mr. Brown die.
Yeah.
All right, that is it.
That's it.
We usually do short shorts. Last week I actually forgot it, so it's up on the channel if you want to see it. When Harry Met Sally, the short short. And this week, because of a lot of IRL stuff with COVID in my family, it's I just physically couldn't do it. It's a shame. So we're going to love you and leave you. Not before we're going to send you off to watch another movie and come back to us next week. Next week, it is going to be Pulp Fiction. And it's going to be a special one. It's going to be longer than usual. It's probably going to go into the 2+ hours.
Yeah.
Maybe even more.
Maybe.
We're also going to celebrate Oh My Feelings' birthday because he has finally become a man and grown some pubes, and we're gonna celebrate.
Love you too, man.
Yes, I love you too, man. So until next week, remember, guys and gals out there, we are both on YouTube and on Twitch live every Saturday, 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 12 p.m. Pacific. Go check us out on twitch.tv/The Reel McCoy Podcast. If you want to just watch us on Twitch, it doesn't matter. If you want to contact me personally, you can go on Twitter @Meffistoe or go on Instagram @Meffistoe79, or email us at the Reel McCoy podcast at gmail.com. That's our dedicated email for this show. Anything you want. If you want to put our faces in a poster like this and do a meme, Meffy the heteronormative, right? So you can do that as well. Go nuts, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. I wait the day when my face get memed to oblivion. Cannot wait. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen. Be good, be well, and really join us next week because it's going to be
a fun one.
lot of fun.
It'll be a lot of fun.